Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Legend of Korra Book 3 Change episode review. This one's going to be for K310, Long Live the Queen. Obviously I'm releasing this a day early. You may be wondering, how did you see the episode on Thursday and not Friday? Well, basically the episode leaked online today thanks to some fan out there. There's a little bit of a story behind this that I'll just mention before I get into my review. What seems to have happened is that Nickelodeon on their website put up this feature called, they've done two parts of it already for book 3. It's like a best bending of book 3, and it's just a few gifs of some of the best pieces of bending we've seen so far in the book. Now, usually the way they've been released is that they've done them as like a few episodes have come out, then they've released some gifs from that episode. This time around though, for part 3, which I think just went up last night, they had two things that happened in this episode 10, before it was even online. One of those was Gazan using lava bending on the walls of Ba Sing Se. Now, that was a not quite spoiler because you weren't really sure where exactly he was doing it, but the other one was super spoilery, like it spoiled the biggest moment of the episode effectively. That was our first time in The Legend of Korra. Spoilers everyone, this is going to be a spoiler review, so just letting you know that before I actually say it. The first time ever in Avatar or Korra seeing an airbender pull air from someone's lungs and basically suffocate the queen to death. Now, it didn't show the full scene, and that's a little bit more than what the GIF shows, but still, this showed us that airbending choking technique thing for the first time ever, and it was a huge spoiler because we just that Zahir was going to attack the Earth Queen. And basically in response to this, some fan who seems to have a Zahir roleplay blog effectively somehow managed to get the episode. I don't know from where, I don't know how he got it, but he decided to put it up online because Nick spoiled the episode. So to avoid spoilers, put the episode up early so people weren't having to wait a day of possibly seeing this GIF go all over the place and spoiling the episode for them. So he uploaded the episode so people would avoid that spoiler. You see the episode before you see the GIF, basically. So it's okay reasoning, but again, the episode has leaked. But yeah, I'm gonna watch it tomorrow on Nick, and I think everyone, if you have seen the leaks, please watch the episode on Nick tomorrow. Buy it on Amazon if that, or anything like that, if that's what you usually do. Just treat this as getting the episode a day early, and give Nickelodeon the views, just to support the show. But anyway, that out of the way, I did watch the episode. So yeah, what an episode this was. With the last 3 episodes, basically from 8 onwards, this book has just got really, really good. And like I said last episode, it's the huge success that can come from just revealing a villain's goal/motive. And because there's not as much shroud of mystery around the Red Lotus, it allows them all to come forward as characters and be a bigger part of the book and do more stuff in the episode. And that happened in this episode. The Red Lotus for me were one of the key parts of the episode. One, we got a really nice scene at the start of the episode that finally gave a little bit of character to Gazan and Minghua. That being the scene where they're talking to Mako and Bolin in the van on the way to Ba Sing Se. And it's just Bolin basically being nice Bolin, asking them about like how tough it was to be in prison for like 13 years. And you see that Gazan, in terms of the way he speaks, is actually a fairly nice guy. He's not like a really like kind of just brute guy, like he's talking like really gruff and he's all about fighting. No, he seems like he's a really nice guy, a little bit kind of joking around with them and stuff like that. And it just got them across as people for the first time really in the book. Just the fact that they both, it wasn't just that they were villains and they were so for their cause that they didn't speak about anything for 13 years. They didn't think about anything for 13 years, apart from possibly getting out when Zahir got out. That for those 13 years they were bored. They, like, events like it raining was a big thing for them to happen. They came up with stories about their guards for themselves, like little fan fiction type things. And then Bolin kind of does a little fan fiction thing with Gazan and says, you were raised by an older sister, your moustache grew when you were 10, and there's an unspoken attraction between the two of you. And then he kind of just, the two of them look at each other, and it's just like 2 out of 3. So you're kind of not quite sure which is the odd one out. Like, so clearly, one of them is correct, potentially, that the attraction is there. Maybe the moustache didn't grow in at 10, maybe he was raised by a sister. Who knows? But it really got them better across as characters just because they spoke, and not just in a, hey Zahir, what's up, what are we doing next? We'll go capture them and stuff like that. That they actually spoke about something personal in a way. Pali didn't get that opportunity this episode, and hopefully the three of them do get more speaking time and chance to kind of see them as characters, because right now Zahir is just dominating the Red Lotus screen time. But that said, over the course of this episode, they did a really good job. You got more over how great they are physically as benders, easily dispatching all those Dai Li agents later on in the episode, and of course the big moment of the episode, that being Zahir using that airbending technique to kill Earth Queen Hu Ting. Now, that's basically what happened. We were just a few degrees, in terms of the way the shot was placed, away from literally seeing someone suffocated to death on screen with airbending. We saw the majority of this happen. Like, it was arguably the most brutal death we've seen on screen in Avatar so far. And you can sort of understand, like, wow, if this shown on Nickelodeon, like, especially like Saturday mornings, this would be intense. Like, even more so than the murder suicide explosion thing with Amon and Tarlok. That was kind of like they cut away from it, so it wasn't like personal and up close. But this was just like this shot when her head was covered in the ball, kind of restricting the air. Like, they close up on her eyes, like the kind of blood vessels and stuff. That was intense. And then, like, he started it off by taking the majority of the air out of her lungs, and then he does it like he gives it a little speech, and he's just like, better than living is darkness, and then pulls even more air out, and just like, wow, she is dead. And just the way they kind of cut it, and that, like, the shot kind of comes down as the air kind of comes up, so that you can track the air instead of her body kind of falling to the ground. It was crazy. It's definitely going to be one of the moments that book 3 and maybe Korra overall is most remembered for, just because of how intense this death scene was, effectively. And I think for sure she's dead. Now, the one thing you note after this moment is you get 5 or 6 times where characters mention the fall of the Earth Queen. They say it like, she was taken out, taken down, Earth Queen has fallen, her rule is ended. They never just flat out say the Earth Queen is dead, the Earth Queen is killed, I killed the Earth Queen, death. They never use those 2 words. Obviously, that's part of the Nick thing, where you can't really say it so much in relation to, characters that you've seen kill someone on screen. They seem to be able to say it about, like Malcolm Bolin said, their parents were killed, because you never see their deaths. Katara talks about her mother was killed, and then you do later see that, but then they kind of don't really say it as such like that. It's definitely one of those kind of weird things where, like, okay, they were allowed to show this really violent scene, but they just weren't allowed to use the word kill or death. It comes across as a little bit weird, and you just notice that the writers are struggling to replace the word kill or death in the lines of dialogue, and they have to go for taken out, and it just makes it seem a little bit more kiddie, when the scene of the actual death was like one of the most like crazy in all of Avatar. And then what that does is that the Queen is out, the Earth Queen's gone, there's no obvious successor, and especially with what the Zahir does next, announcing to the whole city that as the walls are kind of torn down in between the class divides in Ba Sing Se, and all you just see then is just rioting across the city. The news report at the end talks about like looting in the palace and stuff like that, and this is the chaos that kind of Korra was aware of, in like the kind of bad side of this happening. Obviously the Queen wasn't the best queen and stuff like that, but Korra didn't think she deserved to die for that. Definitely not. And she could see that taking all of the positions of power in the world out of the picture is just going to cause this to happen. The people who are going to do something like looting will obviously gain the advantage over people who just want to get on with things and get on with life. So you can see the problems there about kind of having chaos in the world, and that it only suits a certain kind of type of person, really. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see how that works, because in Ba Sing Se, we mentioned it on the podcast when we discussed it, this city has not changed much at all in 70 years. The Daily are back, the Earth Queen, the way she's controlling the city is terrible. The class divides are almost worse now in an even more modern world. That you still have the walls between the various parts of the city. The lower ring looks like a terrible place to live for the most part, and with only like really, you see Malcolm and Bolin's family seem to get on okay, but the rest seem really bad. And so you tearing down those class divides creates a very interesting dynamic, because potentially that's a good thing to happen for the city, but with no leader, no law pretty much anymore, how is this going to work? Like, the Daily aren't controlled by anyone anymore. What's going to happen? Like, the obvious thing is potentially Su Yin kind of comes in and maybe becomes the Earth Queen, like realizing that she has Red Lotus philosophies because her former friends told her about this sort of stuff. That seems to be potentially the setup for this. But again, Su Yin wasn't in the episode, so you still don't know if you can trust her or not. It's very interesting just the way they've kind of played this. And then last thing to say in the Red Lotus is just they came in there to basically use Malcolm Bolin as leverage against Korra when Korra arrived. And basically what they did was they offered those two to the Earth Queen for Korra, because her having the Avatar would create huge international problems. And that was a really kind of nice reasoning from Zahir, kind of playing the Earth Queen that way. But then, when all this kind of drama happens, he frees everyone from prison. And then he says, I just want to talk to you guys. I'll free you, but I want you to hear this first. And he tells them to tell Korra something. We don't hear what it is. But with the next episode, episode 11, called The Ultimatum, I really do think that Zahir has told the ultimatum to Mako and Bolin, and then the next episode we're going to see them tell her, maybe towards the end of the episode, what it is, and it's going to be something pretty big about something. I don't know what it's going to be. I'll talk about that more at the end of the video, and then I'll have a speculation video sometime next week. But other sections of the episode, Asami and Korra got more time together on screen. That was cool, just to see Asami kind of getting some big moments here. Her basically leading the escape on the airship. Obviously Korra makes it crash, but Korra leads the escape. And then in terms of survival in the desert, it's Asami who again is leading it as the engineer. And I like that she got like a kind of really big part in this episode, and that was nice to see. She was kind of falling down a little bit in the middle part of the book after a good start, but it's nice to see that she kind of came back into things good again. And then just in terms of that whole airship side of the story, what I liked was that it was this nice little story about Korra and Asami and their kind of relationship with their kind of captors, these the captain and his small crew. And you see at the start it's just like, okay, you're our prisoners now, even though we're crashing the desert. The second we get out of here, you're still our prisoners, and how Korra and Asami have really done nothing wrong, and just in the way they help the crew and help everyone out of there, they kind of realize that, wait, this is the Avatar, this is a good person, they've helped us get out of here just as much as themselves. Regardless of what's going on with the Earth Queen and her, we're going to let her go. Like, we're not going to pursue this anymore. It's just a nice kind of thing of like, Korra's had all these problems with meeting these world leaders and they haven't liked her. So seeing that this group of people working for the Earth Queen, after spending some time with her, realised that, wait, we're just going to let her go. We don't think she's that big of a threat or anything like that. It was just nice to see that they just kind of parted on good terms. And it was almost like laughed out loud when he puts out his hand to shake, and then like almost like for the first time in the episode it's revealed that he has a hook for a hand. Just like, really? Like, now you reveal that? That was pretty funny. But then the action part of the episode was obviously this giant sand shark that lives in the desert that's not a spirit, but is there kind of because of spirits, or is on the move because of spirits. That was interesting. And then just some really cool moments. Just the shark like leaping up out of the ground and ripping the ship in half. Maybe not as impressive because they really got over how bad Cabbage Corp made ships were in the episode, but still, it was really kind of interesting kind of set piece to have in the episode. Just this sand shark thing all around the desert, and they're trying to fix the ship, make a sand sailor as this is all happening. A little bit anticlimactic, I think, a bit how the whole sand shark thing came to an end. Just, jumps up, Korra turns around, fire bends into its mouth, it falls down, they get away. It wasn't like the big action scene I expected it, but for what it was, it was nice to see Korra kind of protecting everyone in that scene. And then we end the Asami Korra part of the episode with them arriving back at the Misty Palms. I think it was the Misty Palms anyway. And they find Druk outside. Just that was funny in itself. Just like, dragons are so uncommon in the world now that just seeing one outside with all the other animals is insane, because it's so much bigger and just so much more unusual than every other animal. Walk in and there's Lin, Tonrock, and Zuko, and Korra and Zuko meet for the first time in Korra. Really cool scene to see, and just like, okay, Zuko's back in the episode, Tonrock's back in the episode, Lin has joined up with those two, and you have this nice group now, potentially ready to do something about what's happening in the Earth Kingdom, which was very interesting. And then Mako and Bolin will obviously be looking for Korra, so you have basically the hero team kind of coming back together. I just sort of wonder where the airbenders are going to come back into things, because the Queen again remained interested in the airbenders. She was willing to make a deal because of that, but we haven't seen them since episode 7. And we know that basically now, the only scene that we still have to see from the trailer is that scene of Kai falling off the cliff. Now, I assume that's because of Pali, that like there's an explosion and he falls off the cliff because of that. So I hope that that's coming up in like the next episode or two, but again, I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen, because Opal still has to meet everyone at the temple. So I hope that happens sooner rather than later. But other than that, yeah, like, it's just everything is kind of in place now in the series. Like, we're really approaching the finale, because basically it's next week's episode is the last single digital release, and then it's the last 2 episodes released on the 22nd. So it's 2 weeks left, basically 2 weeks and a day, because the official release of this episode isn't until tomorrow. But 2 weeks left in book 3 is pretty insane to think about. But overall, there's some speculation of what Zahir's ultimatum is, what he potentially told Mako and Bolin to tell to Korra. I'm not sure, because you have to keep in mind that the whole reason about this whole Earth Queen Red Lotus thing was happening was that he wanted to trade Mako and Bolin for Korra to tell her something or something like that. So potentially you could have it where, like, he's clearly not trying to threaten Korra, otherwise he would have kind of maybe kept one of them, like he'd capture like Mako and tell Bolin to go find her and, come to me, give yourself up, or I'll kill this person. The fact that he let both brothers go tells me that he just literally wants to tell Korra something, but I'm not sure what that could be. I really have no idea what it is. If it is indeed some sort of ultimatum, what could it possibly be about that's so important that he could tell her, that he didn't tell her in the spirit world, and that he didn't need like a hostage for? So I guess it's something like he's either going to threaten to go to Republic City and kill Raiko, maybe kill the Fire Lord now, maybe something else, that he's going to take out world leaders until Korra gives herself up or something like that. But I'm not really sure. The finale looks like it's taking place in Ba Sing Se, but again, there's still one part of the Red Lotus's plan that we're not really sure of. the overall kind of goal of why they want Korra, why do they really want her so badly, why they don't want her just killed, why they specifically need her captured by them. Now, that's pretty much all there is to say in this video. I'll have more speculation next week with my speculation video going into K310, the ultimatum. Obviously, podcast review for this episode is going to be on Sunday. Rift Part 2 comic review is going to be on Saturday on the podcast. So 2 podcasts this week. Written review for this episode, episode 10, will be on Monday, and then probably Tuesday I'll have my speculation video for this episode out. It just really helps me in terms of coming up with speculation, having discussed it on the podcast and wrote my written review already, just because I've really thought through the episode. Right now I'm kind of just fresh off watching the episode for like the second time, so my thoughts aren't fully in place until I hear what some other people think about the episode, because obviously it's leaked, so not a massive amount of fans have seen it just yet. But thanks for watching this video, and bye.